well, man. Yeah, this is the first episode for everybody out there tuning in to the Heated Convos again, man. As I was saying, Heated Convos is all about, man, conversations that need to be had all the way around the board, man. Conversations that need to be had, whether it's about religion, whether it's about child support, whether it's about Jada Pinkett and her entanglement.
Hey, I'm trying. I'm looking for an entanglement right now as we speak.
So this is
He
what
was
we
wrong
on,
for
man.
that.
You know what I'm saying? So this is what we on, man. One of the topics that we was talking about earlier this week, we was talking about how you know what I'm saying, that you know, all the Confederate monuments, the flags, and everything is getting torn down. You know what I mean? You had a brief conversation, well, not a brief, a long conversation this week about that, about what the Confederates stood for and things like that, man. So what we was talking about, what I'm saying was that I don't feel like the Confederate, the rules and what they stood for, as far as on the economic side, was wrong, straight up. I feel like they were wrong.
What was wrong was that, you know, they got that economic power off the backs of free labor, slaves, as you want to call it.
Right.
So, I mean, more from a moral standpoint, we would say now, in today's age, yeah, that's morally wrong that they used us like that, and you know, we ain't get no recognition or no benefits from it. I guess we did build the country, so we live in it. So I guess we are benefiting from it in that sense. But I think, as a whole, you know, I just think that maybe some of the ideas that they had economic-wise were pretty good. Morally, as a whole, as a society, I just think that it was a bad idea to try to base your society off of free labor. I mean, in hindsight, it didn't last as long as they thought it would. So.
Right. Okay. So I mean, okay. So that goes back to saying, okay, just because it's law don't mean it's right.
Right.
Okay, because when you think about it, they weren't operating out law.
Yeah. They was well within their constitutional rights. That's very true. So, when you put it in that sense, yeah, they say just because law don't mean it's right.
Yeah, because they was operating within the Constitution. We talking about the 3/5 clause. We talking about, you know, this is what it was built on. You know, just like we was talking earlier. Like we get so upset with, you know, the slave ships and how we was brought over, but at the end of the day, and you know, you hear people say that, but it's true. You know, our people sold our own people put us in that situation.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
In the sense that they put us in this situation. But over here, we talking about the Confederate. So to me, the Confederate is represents outside of the slave, the economic thing that they did. And we was talking about this, and we even went through, you know what I'm saying, what was the causes, the main reason of the Civil War.
The Civil War.
And the first reason was that they said was farming versus industrialization. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the first. That was one of the first reason why behind the Civil War, because we knew the South was what they was king cotton. They was farming, king cotton.
Yeah, they was agriculture.
They was agriculture.
They was all about agriculture.
Yeah.
So you say when the industrialists came in and said basically, y'all gonna have to get on and get spit on, and I can understand why the South was upset about that because they were used to agricultural business, and I also think I'll admit this. I think that the union came down and basically, told them, hey, since y'all got free labor and we don't got free labor up here, something's basically got to change. So I can see that being a point of contention.
Okay, so with that said, what about the all of the slavery buildings and monuments that was built up east?
Oh, up north and up
buildings,
east.
Up northeast.
But like you said, that goes along with the country itself being, founded on white supremacy. Like, let's not play like just the good old boys from the north and the bad guys from the south. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At one point in time, everybody in America was pretty much on the same page when it came to slavery. Even the forefathers believed in, the founding fathers believed in slavery. So that's why I would say you have, monuments to slave owners and slavery out east, because that was part of the whole culture of the country.
Right. So what about so to me, from an economic structure, let's break this down. Okay. So the Civil War, it says some of the main causes of the Civil War, industry versus farming. The North wanted to come through and industrialize the South, which was in the farming and King Cotton, slaves. I sent you a video earlier today about King Cotton. And they basically saying if the Southern wanted to, they could have stopped and cut their whole King Cotton off and destroyed the whole country at the time because cotton was so much needed up north and over in England.
Yep, in the world, like I said, that probably would have disrupted the economy on a global basis if they, executed the plan like they were supposed to, or would have.
So we understanding that. Okay, they said Abraham Lincoln. Now we talking about Abraham Lincoln. We're gonna get to Abraham Lincoln because Abraham Lincoln, he didn't necessarily believe in slavery, but he
didn't believe in equality either.
He didn't believe that black people was equal to white people.
Right. Which a lot of people have.
Black people was inferior.
Yep.
And so they wanted to make a move, and so he felt like, okay, if they don't want to get in the boat with the industry, then I'm gonna do the Emancipation Proclamation, abolish slavery, to cut into what they got going on.
Right.
So now we talking about Abraham Lincoln was another main cause of the Civil War. They said
him being elected was a blow to the South. Like, what was it? I think he ran and he won, and he wasn't even on the ballot in like 5 states.
Yeah, on 10 states. He ran for the president and won the president, but wasn't even on the ballot in 10 southern states. You know what I'm saying?
I would cry.
I'd be upset too. Like a lot of people right now are upset that Trump, he didn't win the popular vote, but he won the
electoral college. Yeah.
That's how we felt about that. It's kind of how the Southerns felt about Abraham Lincoln getting elected. Like, damn, hold on, man, you weren't even on the ballot. Something ain't right. First, y'all want to come down here and try to take over our number one money maker that sustain our economy, and also funnel other businesses throughout our economy, banks and all this other stuff. Then the person ahead of it, we ain't really rocking with him. We don't even put him on 10. He ain't even on the ballots in 10 of our states. and he wins.
Right.
Hold up, voter. You talking about voter fraud?
It does sound like some shenanigans going on. It does.
You talking about voter fraud? Now hold up, now. How you gonna win the president? You weren't even on 10 of our state's ballot, and you won. So now they look like you trying to come take over our money, and you just gonna voter fraud us. Think about that right now. You just gonna voter fraud us. Those out there that's tuning in, think about that. We talking about the advantage, and I'm on the advantage. I'm on the side of where what the Confederate was saying. You know, first Confederate had, you know, slaves are what I'm not in agreement with. What I'm saying is it wasn't illegal at the time, morally wrong, but it wasn't illegal. So I'm on the side of that. This is what I'm on the Southern view. I'm the Confederate. I'm the Confederate standpoint. They standpoint is this, man. First of all, you coming out here trying to take over and eliminate our number one money maker. It funnels our economy, funnels our business, basically our family and some. Then the dude that's ahead of this, who we been rocking with, we won't even put him on none of the ballots, and he still gets voted in president. Now hold up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would say there was some trickery going on somewhere down the line, maybe. But I would say, I would pose this to you. Like, it's just like the Trump situation. What was the population divide between the North and the South? I almost guarantee you there was more people in the North than there's probably in the South.
Right.
As far as citizens go. Now, we know they had millions of slaves down there.
Right. But the slaves on the count of 3/5 of a person, so you had to get count.
Yeah, so that's still so the slave cost was 3/5 of a person.
Vote anyway. They vote won't count no way in. However they want to size it up.
But as a slave master, that means I own 300 slaves. That means my vote count for at least 250 people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, but then the states had rights though. You know what I'm saying? The states had rights. You know, states had rights. But what happened was
the right to do what?
Man, it says the idea of states' right was not new to the Civil War. They had right and power, you know what I'm saying, over their own state. Right now, if they don't, they can get out of their. We don't want no government funding. We don't like Texas. Texas always threatened that. All right, man.
They don't want no government funding.
We govern our own state. We don't need the federal funding. So the states got right. States got their own. Missouri got their own constitution. You got Missouri.
Right.
You got to graduate high school in Missouri. You got to pass the United States Constitution. And you had this one. I was in school. You had to do the Missouri Constitution. Zip was the teacher.
Yep. Coach Williams.
Yeah. Coach Williams you had to pass them two classes. Them two, you had to pass them two. You know what I'm saying? So so now you infringing on our state rights.
Yeah.
And now you're doing the compromises come in. Missouri compromise with Missouri decide they want to be a slave state. Kansas decide they want to be a free state. So now you got border wars cracking off.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, so as a Confederate, y'all got some tricky stuff going on. Y'all trying to come down here and do y'all on and we don't want it. And y'all get this dude to run for president who in line with y'all. He ain't even on our ballot in 10 of our states, and he's still winning. Then y'all going around giving other states the opportunity to claim free states, slave states, or whatever. Like it's a real life trickery going on. We ain't going for this. We pulling back. We pulling out of the United States. We pulling out of the United States of America, and we becoming the Confederate States of America. We don't want now.
And I would say that with that said, that you breaking up the Federation. You breaking up the Union when you do that. Even though you got states' rights, if your state's rights is cruel and unusual punishment of other human beings, then I would expect that my government would come in and step over the states that say, hey, y'all can't do this. Y'all can't do this. This is not what we're doing anymore.
We're not operating out of law, because according to the constitutional law, before the 13th Amendment was even implemented, we're not operating out of law. So this,
but just because it's law don't make it right. Right? Because don't make it right.
We operating in law. Right. Man. We give this money. We can't just come in here and try to take over so you can get some of this money.
Right.
Get some of this money. You know what I'm saying? And then the dudes y'all got representing y'all, we not rocking with, and then y'all no, we ain't doing that. We want to withdraw. We want to withdraw out of the United States of America. We got enough resources to stay and money.
Right.
We starting our own joint. We call it the Confederacy of America. That's what we are. Then y'all now we can't do this. Y'all saying we can't do that? Now we're not allowed to do that. Now we got to go to war.
But yeah, so we not allowing y'all to do this. We're not allowing y'all to own slaves anymore. Now, we might have been behind the power curve of rewriting the Constitution and freeing the slaves, but once we changed that law and passed the 13th Amendment, then all bets should have been off. Like, either get down or get down.
So is it really about the slaves, or really about coming to industrialize this on my land? Because I'm thinking it's bigger than slaves, because it stays up north. It stays up north like Delaware and all these other places that still was, even when slavery was abolished in the 13th Amendment kicked in, it was still slaves in Delaware past Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So is what it really about the slaves, or was it really about coming down here trying to get control of our land?
I'm still gonna say it was about the slaves. Like, y'all can keep the land. If y'all ain't got no slaves, who's gonna work the land? Your land's useless now.
But the land's gonna get industrialized.
There you go. Yeah. Bring in them seeds. Not
only did you take our slaves, our money makers, you took our land and changed the whole economy around, except for a few places where there were still farmers, but we couldn't have no slaves. But hold up. But then you turned around and said, we're going to abolish slavery unless duly convicted of a crime.
Right.
And then certain black codes, black laws implemented, which was easy to convict. Black people just hanging out that ain't got no house. If you was homeless and black, that was a crime after you abolished slavery. So now we still get the slaves. Because all we got to do is put a crime on them, kind of slaves, and we're going to put them back in the field.
Yeah. Put that criminal.
Yeah, convict leasing.
So my question to you would be, all right, let's say that the South won the Civil War. Do you still think that we would be slaves till this day?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Because of the labor force. Because of the labor force. If I can get, and you see it in the penitentiary, in prisons, you see it. If I can get you to do free labor and make all the profit, of course, why would I change that?
Why would I change that up?
Why would I change that up?
That's talking about pure profit.
And especially even in today's society when we're still dealing with race issues.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We still dealing with race issues to this day on a systematic higher scale. So it ain't like you passed the 13th Amendment and everything was good. We was still going through the Jim Crow era, Lincoln, and all this other stuff, and even today, mass incarceration So you still seeing the systematic racism. They just wasn't systematic with it back then.
Right, they was all blatant with it. They was like, this is what it is.
Would you rather somebody call you a nigga to your face or a nigga behind your back when you thinking they cool?
I'd rather you call me a nigga to my face. You know what I'm saying? I respect you way more than you whisper it behind my back when I walk out. So yeah, I can definitely dig that. I can definitely get with that. But I would also bet to say that, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't still be slaves. We'd probably be about 70 years behind schedule than what we are now.
We'd be behind. Yeah, we'd be about 70 years behind. You know, but Tremaine said, Google the Missouri Compromise. D.L. Hughley got a book called Surrender White People. I suggest people to read it. He talks about the Missouri Compromise and everything else. It's called Surrender White People by D.L. Hughley. You know, and Missouri Compromise, one of their things was that Missouri said, look, we're going to be a slave state.
Right.
We're going to be a slave state. But we know from Bloody Kansas, from Bleeding Kansas, and the Kansas and Nebraska Act, that Kansas said they were going to be a free state.
Right.
And so came the Jayhawk Army and all this. So the border wars of Missouri and Kansas, it was bigger. It just didn't start in the sports.
That's true. That's true. I will say that I'll put it like this. To me, I feel like the central issue, I might be embellishing a little bit, but I always feel like the central issue has been black people or slaves in America when it comes to anything. Like, we've always been politicized and used as a pawn to get the voting mass to vote one way or the other. In the Civil War,
yeah, that's what it is.
In the Civil War, it was like, okay, we might not win this war, so let's free all the slaves in the South and say, hey, we gonna free y'all so y'all can come fight for us.
For us, right? That's what I'm saying. So as like better, I'm a rebel. I'm looking at it like this. Y'all on some stone cold bullshit. Straight up. No, for real.
All's fair in love and war, brother. All's fair in love and war.
This is why I'm and then this is why I'm rebellion. Because y'all playing a big game. First of all, you came to me talking about let us come down there and get something that industrialized. I said, no, we cool what we got going on down here. We cool. You know what I'm saying? Going back up north. The system that we got working out here, getting billions of dollars. Billions. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about billions. If you don't believe me, I'm gonna post that video. I'm gonna post it on Facebook. The billions of dollars. We can control the whole country. We can exporting our cotton our cotton up north. We put there, we shut y'all down. But now you coming here trying to industrial. We don't want no industrial. We be cool farming. Okay, so we got to get a part of this. But check this out. No, we got state rights. I mean, you ain't got no state rights. It's the federal government. Just like the feds now. How you feel like you ain't got no rights with the feds? Ain't no states right. We the federal government. We gonna come down there and get some of that. We're gonna this the dude to represent us. We put him on the presidential ballot. All right, we got somebody on the ballot. Oh, he won. What you mean he won? He wasn't even on 10 hour ballot. Oh, yeah, okay.
We can see him on the ballot.
Okay, y'all on some Debo. They gave some Debo stuff. So now, you know what? We don't even want to be part of the United States. We rebelling. We don't want to be part of the United States. Y'all straight scheming. We don't want to be part. Now you get to go to war. Now you want to free the slaves. You want to come with the Emancipation Proclamation. You want to proclaim emancipation for all the slaves. Then turn around for the law 3 years later. Right. You changed it around. Okay. Bad. All right. Yeah. Cool. And at the end of the day, now what I say I back the Confederacy on is everything they did outside of slavery. Morally wrong, yeah. It was in law, yeah. But as far as their stance, as far as them breaking away and wanting to be their own entity, their own government, their own nation, I can understand that because they have their own economic system.
Yeah, they had their own economic and they could do that.
Built off of slavery or built off something morally wrong, they still had in their standpoint, they still had it's like it's like a whole bunch of drug dealers making billions of dollars, and they decided to take their communities and they generate all this money and say, look here, man, we're gonna build our own nation around here. They say, no, you can't do it because this drug money.
Right. We want our taxes.
But even now, even a lot of your big gold companies in the United States is built off gold that's coming from Peru and everything else that's getting funneled from drug money. The new way of money laundering for drug cartels is the gold. And then they set up a company down in Colombia. They get a hold of the gold buyers in the United States and say, yeah, man, I got 100 million gold, and they gonna come and get it. They know this is illegal, but all they gotta say, no, you don't think that. And then they go bring it to the United States, they do their thing. It ain't no different. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I understand the position that the Confederates took outside of slavery. Like you trying to disrupt our economic system for your own personal gain. And when we say we ain't with it, we want to withdraw from the United States, which obviously we had the right to. This even became we don't want to be the United States. We our own nation, the Confederate States. Now we got to go to war. Just because y'all want this, you say because of slavery, but the systematic racism after this still existed all the way into now.
Right. So I would halfway concede and say it wasn't all about slavery, but the main reason was, I would say, the economics of it. And when you break that down, that boils down to free labor or retail raised jobs or retail jobs. Like, so once you cut out the free labor in the country, that's gonna put a real halt on your financial progress. So like I would probably fight to keep my property, as y'all like to say, but it's like when you say property, you also meaning slaves. We were considered property.
Yeah, you mean the slaves, yeah. That's what you mean.
So yeah. I mean, coming from a Confederate perspective, when you say, well, my land and, my state's rights, I could almost even go with that. But your property and your state's rights was all in the same go rip. I'm sure there was other issues that went along with that when it comes to states' rights.
Right.
But I would say that the main problem for me in itself with the Confederacy in itself is that it was built upon white supremacy. It was built on what they call the universal truth that the Negro, as they called us, were naturally subservient to the superior white race. Like,
okay, so you saying that's what they was built off of, right?
Right. And
so, what is the fundamental law of the United States of America right now? The root law of which America is built upon. What governs America?
What the Constitution, with the pursuit of life, liberty, and prosperity.
Okay. So we're gonna bring in a special. We're gonna bring in. On the Heated podcast. We always gonna let people have a chance to come on and do their thing. So we're gonna bring on a special guest and let him and we're gonna put him involved in it.
How y'all doing now?
What's going
on, Mr. Humbles?
Man, y'all getting it in, ain't you?
Yeah,
how you doing today, sir?
I'm the Confederate representative. I'm on the Confederacy outside of slavery. I'm the Confederate. I'm the rebel.
Yeah.
I understand of where they was coming from.
Yeah, the best thing about this is like, and you know, I know a lot of knowledge about stuff, but I've literally learned stuff by just listening to what y'all talking about right now. You know, I think half of everybody listening right now, what you got to realize is like, don't think you know everything. Just be willing to listen, because like even me listening to y'all talk right now, I gained something off of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Gained some understanding of stuff that I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like you came back, I was talking about the Missouri Compromise. I don't know about Kansas and all the other ones that you were just talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
When you get a chance to look up Bleeding Kansas, because when they started, when the compromises started coming into play, they basically started allowing what the North did, and Abraham Lincoln then was doing was saying, well, since y'all want to trip in the South, we finna go out through these other states and give them the option to be a free state or a slave state. Right. Whatever one that they choose, like the Missouri Compromise, Missouri chose to be a slave state.
Yeah, man.
Kansas chose to be a free state. That's where the border wars came, because they fought their wars down in Bates County in Missouri, in Butler, Missouri. That's where they fought their wars at. Because the North was trying to put all the free states they can to back them up in these wars. And throughout the wars, you had the little battle. Throughout the Civil War, you had the little battles. So that's where the compromises come in. And if you ever look at it's called Bleeding Kansas. Kansas and Nebraska had an act. They was like, you know, we're gonna do what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. And what I was talking about is like people really like how the South lost. If more of a population of Caucasian people or nationalists or whatever you want to call them, supremacists, whatever. Yeah. If more of them, even today, if black people only make up 13%, you look back in those days, you like, man, well, how could they even allow even people who objectified, you know what I'm saying, their property that y'all talking about having slaves? Right. Like how could it get to a point where y'all lost? You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is because the South ran out of resources. That war, the Civil War, bankrupted the South. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a harsh impact on this everyday living, from banks to businesses to farms, agriculture. It literally bankrupted the South. Like they ran out of resources. That's why they lost.
Was it the war or was it the?
It was
the 13th Amendment.
Y'all can't have no slaves.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no. That's the.
I guess. Well, that would be part of the war, though.
Right, but I'm just saying, as far as like going into like if we go back right now, we'll visualize what's going on in the world today. Why do you think? Like, I'm a big Second Amendment person. You know, y'all know I got my got that expungement done, and so I'm able to legally allow to own firearms, even though I was a convicted felon before.
Right.
And so legally, through the judicial system, things have changed. But I said that to say the reason why the Second Amendment is so important right now is because people are wanting to arm people for another form of civil war. They're saying if it gets to a point where a person that looks like you, Cardell Sims, has as much as an impact on the world and as much as a privilege as I do, then we got to make sure that all of our people are armed with AR-15s. That's standard. You know what I mean? And we need to arm ourselves, because that's what's going on right now. Is like people are really, it's just preparation.
I always encourage if you ain't got a felony or any convicted felon and you can't, you're a convicted felon that can't get your expungements and your rights back, it is a necessity and a must. Firearm.
Or you always gotta practice your Second Amendment rights, because Let the people tell you, we all got the same rights in the country, so everybody needs to practice in the same rights.
Yeah.
Right.
So you always
But that's
protect
why-
you and
But that's why the AR-15 is such an item. Like if you go, I was looking on, like right now I'm just looking and searching at guns and stuff, and you're seeing stuff out of stock, ammo. You're trying to get ammo, it's out too. I mean, it's because of mass hysteria of people feeling like, man, something about to go down. Like, cause
so as the Confederate that I am,
Hey, you stop saying that, boy.
Reason why I'm stocking up on ready to go to war because this happened to my people.
Yeah.
Y'all came and took my stuff before. Y'all did me in. Y'all took my land, my money. I was making billions of dollars. Y'all came and implemented it, took care of my workers.
So now we're trying to do it again.
Y'all doing it again.
Yeah.
You're doing it again.
Get them, Bob. Gotta get them.
Me as the union, I am going to say, look, we can come back to the table and maybe we can work some stuff out before we come back down here and take that shit again.
That's why we went to the table. Y'all took y'all put a president that wasn't about it in my state.
Right.
So you expected me to trust you?
And look, y'all had y'all had Andrew Jackson, y'all had every opportunity to get y'all shit together before we happened to put Lincoln in there.
No, but even after Lincoln, we were still trying to. Y'all gave us convict leasing, but now y'all done industrialize everything, big business, so the convict goes to the corporations. Y'all even took that from. Ain't nobody convict leasing on the yard, no, on the farm no more. They convict leasing through big corporations.
Right.
So
right.
convict leasing is through big corporations. We might got a few land down here. We got them on the Tang game, but we got the world convict leasing. Y'all been backdooring on that too.
Yeah, but you know what I was going to tell you? It's a crazy thing about like when you look at people that represent the South and the North, and you look at people even of today's society that are Republicans and people that are Democrats. Do you know, even on both sides, like literally there's grown men, 30, 40, 50 years old. And there was a dude I met not too long ago. He said he's a Republican. I said, that's cool, And because he asked me about my shirt. He said equality. He's like, what does that mean to you? Well, he thought I had a dull answer. I had some shit for him, what I mean? But we got to talking about him being a Republican. So I was like, well, do you know what a Republican is? Like, do you know what the definition is? Do you know what the origin of a Republican? Do you know what their beliefs are? What their origin of Christianity, or they represent a free enterprise of government? Or do you know anything about what you say you are? Like, are you aware? Or are you just like a culture vulture? Are you just kind of attached to it because that's what your daddy said or whatever? That's what you was raised around. Are you aware of like what it is? And he really couldn't say anything. He didn't know anything about really what the real values of being a Republican was, or even Democrats. I mean, you look at
most people don't,
and so that's the biggest thing.
I encourage people to look up what a democracy is and what a republic is.
Yeah.
And in today's society, you wouldn't know if you was in a republic or democracy.
Democracy. Now, people understand this is really a republic. This is not democracy. This is a bunch of small countries that make up a big country that makes up the republic. So I would also suggest people check out Jesse Ventura's book, the one we was talking about the other day, the Democrats
and Republicans.
And the Republicans. Yeah.
You ever read that?
No.
Yeah, about Jesse Ventura, man.
Democrats and Republicans, the Crips and Bloods, Democrats and Republicans. You want a good book to read that, man.
Very good book. And that's
you see that at the end of the day, it's all whatever party it is, and this is where I'm at with Killer Mike. He says people always arguing about the the Republic, the Democrat. At the end of the day, we need to kill the masters. You know what I'm saying?
Get rid of them all.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying, and build our own. You know, and that's why I say about the Confederacy, because at the end of the day, the Confederacy, they was like, man, nah, we ain't going for none of that. We out of the United States and we starting the Confederate States of America. That's what we're gonna do.
But how far will the elites go if we're gonna be in the act of like trying to erase history and eradicate what happened before? Like, how far are the elites gonna allow?
Hey, you got to do like one thing about the Confederacy was they weren't afraid to go to war and lose lives about what they stood on.
You saw how people act about the statues just not too long
ago.
How do you think they're gonna act about something even more?
I would say
invasive than that.
Yeah. I would say that the Confederates may have lost the war, but they ended up winning the peace after the war, because only in America can you lose the war and then 50 years later they start erecting statues of fucking generals that done lost the war. Now, how does that happen? Okay, well, we might have lost the war, so we're going to change the narrative on how the history went down.
That's because they flying them and they you gotta look at it where they're getting flown at. This was all in the first place. So even though because basically all they did was come in and implement and take over and implement their money infrastructure. We're gonna take yours out, but we're gonna just because they implemented their money structure didn't mean the people that was there that was still alive views really changed. They just had to get in accordance with what's going on. We lost. You know what I'm saying? So we got to go all in line. We lost.
Even though that they lost, they still had, you know, senators and representatives that was in the Congress and in the Senate that was still passing laws that benefited the South. Like,
because they had to pass laws. Only way you're gonna rebuild is through finances. Only way you're gonna get the finances is through laws and bills from the government. Think about it. Even now, with the crisis that we're going through, what they do? Oh, we got to put money into the economy. We got to come out with loans. We got to give unemployment $600 extra. We got to come out with this. We got to come out with stimulus check because we got to fund the economy to make sure that it don't crash. And even when you think about what you being in the military, how many times the military went overseas, won the war, destroyed a whole half a country, and then took money and fund it and built it back up?
Get the infrastructure back up. That's what we usually do. We go over there, blow it up, and build it back up again for them. That's true. That's true. But I would say this, like we was talking about the book 1984. Like I said, there's a quote in there: "Whoever controls the past controls the future, and whoever controls the present controls the past." So, like. If I grew up thinking that the Civil War wasn't that bad of a deal, it wasn't that bad. You know, half of slavery was volunteer. So some people say out here, but if you grew up generation after generation thinking that slavery wasn't that bad and the Civil War all that wasn't that bad, then of course you would have the attitude that people have today, like, why don't they just get over it? It's been 200 years. Why don't they just get over it? And when you grow up, like especially in Missouri and other places in the South, you grow up seeing Civil War enactments, and you got Confederate soldiers serving you ice cream and cake. You know what I'm saying? You think that's the friendly thing. You know what I mean? And even they teaching the kids in schools, in some schools in the South, they don't call it the Civil War. They call it the War of Northern Aggression, which it may have been.
That's what it was.
In some people, it may have been. It was, man, no.
Man, it was a whole. It was a whole. It was a whole takeover, man. I can't even find another word for it. Done in a strong arm fashion.
But it's about to get real sticky. It's about to get real sticky real quick. Because no matter what, even if Donald Trump does win or if he doesn't, now that people are really, because Donald Trump was really a heaven sent validation for white supremacy on the finest plate with the best silverware that you can find for anybody that believes like that. You know what I'm saying? So to have to go back to something else.
But you gotta look how long we've been waiting. You gotta look how long we've been waiting for somebody to get back in there that was on our side.
Yeah. And so that's why it's gonna be tough, because now for this last 4 years, people are I've seen people more vocal about the way they feel. And I said it took someone like Donald Trump to bring it out of them. Without him, it could have been another Republican in there, but it wouldn't have brought him out like this man.
Because he represents. Back in the days, we would have just hit him across the head and they've been carrying him out. That's what he meant.
Right. Yeah, they've been carrying him out.
Exactly. When he said that back in my day, we would have clubbed you and drugged you. He was talking about the days of Martin Luther King and they was getting beat, and dogs biting them.
That's all reference. That's cold talk. That white supremacy rearing its ugly head again.
But people tell me, no, that's not what
I told y'all. You know what I'm saying? You might as well. What do you got to lose? What you got to lose?
Oh man!
But hey, that's the truth. You really don't have nothing to lose. Because don't get me wrong, I don't want people to think that the Democrats are necessarily the good guys. But what I do want people to realize is that these Republicans ain't necessarily real Republicans. These are all the old Southern Democrats that switched parties after Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into being. So at one point in time in the country, you had Republicans who were Abraham Lincoln's party, and the majority of minorities and black people were Republicans. Like believe it or not, my family's historically conservative. But somewhere down the line, once they signed that Civil Rights Act, the party switched sides. Basically, all the Southern Democrat support that the Democrats had left and went to the Republican Party. And then the Republicans that were over there, they hijacked it and went over to the Democratic Party. So,
because now they feel like that. Let me tell you what the Civil Rights Act did. It let them know, because we was doing good. Okay, you can't come over here and eat. You can't come over here and drink. You got my bathroom. Right. You don't need to be in those schools. You don't need to do none of that. You know what I'm saying? But now they passed the Civil Rights Act. It was just like the 13th Amendment all over again. Now you done made a force mill where they can just come into our establishment. And we got to set. We done got strips up some more. You already done just took our Confederacy. Now you just gonna say they got to come. They can just walk into our establishment anytime they want to walk into. You know what I'm saying? Whether we like them or not.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I was saying, whenever I was hearing y'all talk before you got me on here, and I was just listening to y'all talk, if I didn't learn one thing, or even if I didn't hear any other thing, I heard that basically what you gotta know when it comes to the North and the South, what y'all was talking about, it was about the South wanted a free labor society, like y'all was talking about. And they said, we're not about to compromise a free labor to society to where we gotta acknowledge these people as humans and pay them. And so whenever they literally they do what I say so. You know,
and on top of that, now we gotta get out there and get it.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, no. Now we actually got to get out there and work for it. And herein lies the other rub. Once you free the slaves, I say you don't have free labor anymore. Now you have a group of skilled laborers in the country who are probably the majority of the skilled laborers in the country. Now you got to pay these skilled laborers, and that takes away the jobs from poor white people. And so then you got to get out there and for it and everything. So the other rub. Once you free the slaves. I said you don't have free labor anymore. Now you have a group of skilled laborers in the country who are probably the majority of the skilled laborers in the country.
I'm still talking.
Now you got to pay.
I hear a reverb on what.
Yeah, I think it's because of the car.
Oh, okay.
You gotta get out there and.
But Deshaun just disappeared, and
yeah, he did. That boy was gone in the wind.
He in the middle of something just disappeared, boy. Let me get this right.
You said you representing the Confederacy.
I'm representing the Confederacy on the idea of trying to. Okay, this is what y'all did. You wanted this to happen, right? You wanted to industrialize the South. You saying you against slavery. You want to industrialize the saying you against slavery. So you can bring this down. And you really ain't against slavery because, Abraham, I don't understand how you can be, well, I guess I can, but how you can be against slavery, but you don't feel that black people are equal to white people. You don't feel like they should have the right to vote. You don't feel like they should be eating with us. You don't feel like that they are told that mentally, my state is they're not nowhere near smart as us, but you don't agree with slavery. I find that really hard to believe that you don't agree. I find that hard to believe if you got these certain feelings because you're saying these people are beneath you.
Right.
That's what you're saying. But you don't believe in them doing free labor. But if that's your story, okay. But you want to come down and y'all want to industrialize our farming.
Right.
But because we we cool on that. Okay, well, what we're going to do is, you know what I'm saying, we're going to strip you of your state rights.
Sorry, I don't understand.
We're going to strip you of your state rights. We're going to...
don't even understand that bullshit.
Yeah, she just popped up out of nowhere. I'm sorry, I don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. You're going to strip us of our state rights. Mm-hmm. You're going to come down and put somebody in president and elect someone as president that wasn't even on 10 of our states' ballot. That's so you tell me I ain't got no state vote anyway. So, and then tell me that we can't remove ourselves from your United States because obviously it's not no United States if this is what y'all doing to me. So we're gonna get up out of here. We start our own Confederate States of America. Now, in order to do that, now we got to go to war. And now you're gonna destroy my money maker by freeing the slaves, and a lot of them will come fight with you anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I lose. Then I got to do now we got a reconstruction. So the reconstruction period of the southern states, here comes the industrializations.
That was the first reconstruction stage.
Yeah.
But also with that came,
and it put a lot of black people in position of power as far as in getting money.
It did.
Because you had black farmers, you had a lot of different black people that did the labor work. Because in the South, the white people wasn't doing no labor work.
No, we was the skilled.
So who did they have to pay to get stuff done?
It's funny that there's profit. It's literally a demographical skilled labor categories. Like whenever you think about a landscaper, what do you think about? A Mexican, a Hispanic, Latino company or whatever. That's what I think about anyway. Like a good landscaping company.
Right.
I see, and so a lot of times it's crazy because you think about even black people, if you think about any barber, you know what I mean? Right. I guess due to demographics, that's just how we think. But it's just crazy that we got to have certain categories for certain ethnicities when it comes to skilled labor jobs. Because of how the economy allowed us to make money, it dictated what we could and couldn't do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's certain jobs that we just weren't allowed to have. Look up here in Kansas City where we at. I had a lot of people on my page that was like, why are they worried about J.C. Nichols? Well, J.C. Nichols was a very powerful white supremacist that created the inability for Black people to be able to work with lenders to own homes and to rent, even to rent houses and everything.
Yeah.
Like the same thing that Donald Trump and his dad was involved in with the
Yeah.
Department of Justice. Well, people really was questioning me, like, why is that an issue that this man's name, because they're changing J.C. Nichols, all the stuff that has J.C. Nichols on it, the fountains in the plaza, they changing all the name, because, you know, that's what they're trying to do right now is
they trying to eliminate that's what I'm talking about. Now you're trying to eliminate our power structure and representatives out the whole equation of the
But
country.
that is part of psychological warfare. Now y'all been raising psychological warfare on us since the end of Reconstruction now, and now that we bringing it to light, now you got a problem because we bringing this ugly truth into your face and bringing down these statues. That's not destroying no history.
Okay,
that's saying that these
but the
motherfuckers
thing
wrong.
is this: y'all would never, until y'all do this one thing, y'all would never get the power structure back because we got the underlying, the root law of this country that backs us up, the Constitution.
right.
Until you amend the Constitution, until
and
you
Constitution.
implement a new Constitution or anything else, you would never outdo us because the Constitution is going to allow us to systematically continue this racism process. You only recognize the fifth of the human. That's what
I
you are.
I want to ask both of y'all a question about does anybody know all the words to the Black National Anthem?
What is the Black National Anthem for what?
I was about to say, look,
I ain't know
listen, man.
what that is, man.
Listen,
I'm gonna tell y'all the truth.
I don't know when the Black delegation got together and decided on the Black National
Anthem. They didn't
Anthem.
send memos out or nothing.
We did that for y'all. Thank us. We did that for y'all.
All right, that's right. That's right. That's one of them. That's one of them hymns you sling.
That's a pacifier move. See, every now and then we got to do something to pacify you. Civil rights act.
But you know what? You're right. Because while people are worried about people changing the names to racist buildings and all that, we need to be worried about the infrastructure of the government, how things are all the way from the top to the bottom. But we're satisfied.
Y'all can't never do nothing about it because we got the fundamental law. We got the Constitution.
I will say this. Forgiveness is a strong tool, but African Americans for so long are some of the most forgiving people that I've ever known. And I'm not saying don't forgive, but what I'm saying is that we forgive, we find the best out of every situation. When white people said we're niggers, we made a whole different word to change the psychological warfare that was going on in our minds to make us feel.
That's a good point.
We live for the validation of so much that it's like, what are we willing to compromise with? What are white people and people that represent, white nationalism and supremacy, what are they willing to compromise with? Are we going to be okay with them just changing names to buildings or firing that person? Or are we worried about the infrastructure, how things are on the top?
Y'all worried about just getting pacified for a little bit. I don't think y'all truly believe in y'all mind deep inside that y'all could ever overcome this oppression. Because every time y'all even get the heart and the courage to, I pacify you. You stood up,
nibble or something, huh?
Yeah.
Give a little nibble.
I give you a little something and you cool. You want a pool? You want a whole swimming pool, Hubbard Park? I'm gonna give you a little water park.
Yeah.
So I give, and then that shuts you up until you get fed up 15 years later when that gets old and you get tired of playing with that. Instead of going for the whole gusto, instead of coming together and build your own. As the Confederate oppression, my biggest fear is that you all learn to come into your own and togetherness without having to deal with the black on black problems that you deal with, and come together and build your nation and start funneling your money amongst your nation. Because my biggest fear is in 15 years I'm the minority.
That is true. And that
could very well happen.
That is true. I seen
In
say
50
about
years, I'm the
diversity.
minority. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
And y'all
Who was that?
White institutions. Y'all want
Hey, who was that?
y'all want to be involved in everything. Y'all want to be involved in everything. We can't even have all white institutions no more because it got to be some kind of people of color in there. Senate, we can have Senate.
Affirmative action, baby.
Yeah, affirmative action. This is what I'm afraid of. But
Hey,
the
I
me
ain't
being
gonna lie,
afraid of, I'm
I
not
got
afraid of it
from affirmative
because
action, so.
I feel as long as we keep passing you, me and our corporations, we keep pacifying you, and the Constitution never changes, we're gonna be all right. In the words of Kendrick Lamar.
And that's the big problem with today. So that's the thing with social media. People, you see something, it makes you feel a certain way emotionally, and you share it.
You run with it.
And so you reproject that into the atmosphere of like, look, they changed the name to such and such, or look, they fired such and such.
Yeah.
But we need to be worrying about all the way on the top, all the way from the way our government's ran. But we can't worry about what's going on in the White House if we're not holding our local municipalities, responsible.
Great point.
For what they're doing. So we got to be active. We
can't worry about it because on the national level, y'all can never get us on the national level because you can't even get your local stuff together.
Yeah.
So as long as we continue to control the local, which controls the electoral college in your state, I don't care how many popular votes you get. Just like Donald Trump, he ain't getting all the popular votes, but he got the votes that counted. That got him in there. So I'm gonna continue to control the local until y'all realize what you really need to do. You know what I'm saying?
Some of us
trying to get my kid back from when y'all wouldn't let me start my own country.
Some of us on that trying to start the local. You start with the micro and then you move on to the macro aspect of it.
Exactly.
People are so worried about they're worried about the White House. They're worried about President Trump. They're not worried about the local municipalities going to city council meetings. People need to be going. People need to be going to city council meetings, and they need to be going to city council meetings and looking these people in the eye and saying, "Why aren't these funds being utilized for this? Y'all got funding. Why isn't this money being spent for this?"
Okay, so
asking them questions, hold them accountable.
I see Miss Nancy Sims Van Buren said the Black National Anthem is lift every voice and sing. I believe was delegated officially by the NAACP. They're my people. But
yeah, me too. People. We gotta talk to each other more now. Because our Black people relationship.
Yeah, they're my people. They're my people.
Oh man.
We know you love them.
They're my forefront runners. When something go wrong, these are my forefront runners. That's why when they bring Bill Clinton on to the NAACP convention, let him speak. Even though he was one that is the cause of mass incarceration, free strike laws. More was built and people put in prison for 85% under his time, with his wife calling your sons and daughters super predators.
You might as well throw him in there with Ronald Reagan.
Get the crazy ass child support laws they put in act.
And calling your women welfare queens and got welfare implemented.
Might as well throw him in there with Reagan and Reaganomics.
But let y'all people tell her he's the first Black president.
No, you're going too far now, Biggs. You're going too far now. You're going
but I'm not gonna lie.
No,
I'm not gonna lie though. Having Trump as a president versus having Bill Clinton as I remember Bill Clinton being a president. I was younger, and I remember the economy wasn't that bad as far as like insurance goes, as far as like Medicaid and Medicare covered more. Now you go to the doctor and you ain't got regular good insurance or insurance that comes with a state ID tax number through your job, and they know you got Medicaid. Now I'm not saying you're not gonna get taken care of, but what I am gonna say is people do get treated a little differently, and unless something bad happened to you, they could. Right. That's why the ventilator with all the COVID is so important, because that's what they make. They like, well, we need ventilators. Well, okay, you can have as many ventilators as you want, but is that how you guys are judging success by if we put them on an event or not.
Right.
There's other utilization things that are things that people that they could utilize, but it's like it costs too much money for somebody who might not be able to pay. And that's the same reason why a lot of these cures for this and that haven't been done. Like, think about this. They said, haven't y'all seen that there's been something with COVID that they found that's be successful, and it's still, and they've tested it, did all the testing, blah blah blah, but we still don't have anything.
They stopped until their first round.
We're still waiting.
Now,
Right.
The first round of
I'm not even gonna take it anyway.
The government gave the company $70 million. I had some stock in them, and their stock was shooting up. It went from 5 to 35. I was clapping. Then they went to the first round of testing, didn't come out so good, and they still started to drop. So I pulled on out. I pulled out at 23. I pulled out at 23. I got it at 5, but so they doing all these little tests until it come out. At the end of the day, all we're gonna do is tell y'all we trying it on y'all first.
Right.
And kids ain't gonna be able to go to school unless they get it. So what you gonna do?
Homeschool.
Right.
Well, so that's what's going on now. Is like our economy's going bad, man. Like to where people are having to make the decision.
Go bad.
Yeah, I mean, and people are making a decision like,
and you got to do what we see that, and that now you see where we was at. When y'all took over our stuff, don't come out here and make our economy bad. We don't want y'all here.
Hey,
we don't come down here messing with us. We got our own nation. Until y'all understand how to build your own nation, start funneling the money amongst y'all throughout these United States and start figuring out your nationality, start figuring out who you are. Because it ain't strange when the other people come in, they proclaim their nationality when they enter the country and they get businesses and stuff like that.
Right.
You better understand what the other 2/5 of that we weren't counting on you in the Constitution.
Constitution means that your
nationality and divine creed. We recognize you had a mind, body, and soul, but we stripped you of your nationality and divine creed.
What Cardell's doing is he's capitalizing off of people's ignorance or their lack of knowledge. So even us in the Black society, think about how many people live on the north side and everywhere that lived in the same house and have been paying. And this is not to offend anybody. It's just to say that this is where we are as a people.
Yeah.
Is we're paying rent. Us as a people. Us as Black people. Me too.
On something you don't own.
We're paying rent.
That you don't own.
I know people, but I know people that's been paying rent at the same place and they still live there, and they've been paying rent there for 10, 15 years.
20 plus
now,
years.
You probably bought that house, and if it's a small house, maybe if it's $100,000 house, probably. You know what I mean? And not to say like I can't judge nobody, but it's like you can own, but we gotta have discipline. We gotta have, just like in the Bible, and then regardless of whatever religion it is, I know a scripture that says people perish because of the lack of knowledge. You just don't know. Like you can't really be mad at nobody that don't really have the discipline. I ain't never been shown anything.
If you all, like you said, the north side, let's say if the north side was built up where it had businesses, housing, education system, daycare system, health facilities, all in that area, had multiple business. You need this one health facility. Like, you know what I'm saying? You need, you might even have a little small clinic.
Yeah, a little mercy, urgent care. Urgent
care. But then you might have like a straight health, a small health hospital there. Mm-hmm. You got businesses there. They're different businesses, not the same type of business. You got barbershops, you got grocery stores, you got clothing stores, you got different type of business, in that community. To where everybody in that community, people that own the houses, own the apartments, was in the community. You would never need to go outside of the community to go spend your dollars nowhere else. And then
you would never have
enrich. See, to me, the biggest thing that y'all ever did was want to be integrated with me. Wasn't nothing going on. Wasn't nothing going on with us. That was the biggest mistake y'all was made, to be integrated with me.
So basically, you saying
because you lost a sense of self.
Me as Black people should try to maybe be more like rebels and the Confederates than what we think.
Break off into your own. Not saying, and the reality is this. Quiet as kept. Y'all practice the same hate for black people that we practice.
Don't you start that shit, man. I know where you're going. Don't start that shit today, man. Don't start that shit today, man.
Same hate for your own that we practice.
Okay.
He said, so we more alike than what we think.
Don't fall for that bullshit. No.
In the bigger cities, you are more afraid of walking past your own than walking past me.
Than past a white person. Right. Okay. Yeah, true.
So
that may or may not be true.
Value, you called each other niggas.
Here you go.
Oh, when I see that nigga, I'm that nigga.
But like I said, we just took control of that word. We took a word that was negative,
but you still use it
and made it so it don't have no connotation to us.
That's the psychology you tell yourself. Because when you get mad, what do you say? When I see that nigga, I'm gonna kill that nigga.
Yeah.
You use it in a hate fashion.
Yeah.
But I will say this:
you're not gonna say, but you're not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, if y'all respected yourself more, or y'all didn't have these problems that y'all have in the black community, like these same problems don't happen in the white community." Like these same problems ain't happening in the Mexican community.
Because it's all about the terminology. Because whenever something, just like with Obamacare, well, some people say, well, Obama, he was a bad president. Hey, you can, if you see it that way, that's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, why do you dislike Obamacare? Before Barack Obama, people need to realize there was no such as if you had a pre-existing condition and you had cancer or you had any pre-existing condition before Barack Obama, and you had that condition before you got insurance, for the rest of the term, your life on that insurance, it's not going to cover any pre-existing condition that you ever had before Barack Obama was president. I didn't even realize that was that important until I had my homeboy, I lost him to cancer. And it is crazy to think that before Barack Obama, if you had a pre-existing condition, insurance was not going to cover that. You know what I'm saying? Your insurance company could say, well, sorry, you had cancer before you got it on our insurance plan. So we don't cover any of that. We only cover what happens after you start paying us this money. And so people talk crap on Obamacare, and it was really the Affordable Care Act, but they called it the Obamacare to attach bad stigma to Obama because it was all about the terminology of stuff. Right. So we are in love with the terminology, how we say stuff. So like
how Trump got office last time.
Like when y'all hear the Confederacy, y'all think of bad terminology. And what we was doing was
because of the symbolism that's behind the Confederacy.
What we was doing was actually protecting our investments, protecting our economic structure. And when we didn't agree with what was going on, we didn't agree with voter fraud. That's what it was. That's voter fraud.
But they committing voter fraud right now. When you go into low income cities and there's barely anywhere to vote, and you got to wait in line for 5 hours, how many people in the inner city is gonna stand there with that much discipline? Like, I'm about to sow my vote. I'll wait for 6 hours and 9.
Not too many, but we need to change that though. We got to instill that discipline in our people, because I guarantee you that white man that wants to cast his vote, he ain't going nowhere until he gets into the ballot.
How many voting booths are, if you go to some metropolitan, real nice neighborhood, how many places can you go vote at? A gazillion. You ain't got to, it's almost like going to Chick-fil-A. You in there and out. It don't matter how many cars is in the driveway. They gonna get you in there and they gonna get you out.
In actuality, the same problems and concerns that you all facing right now, except, matter of fact, we can even go to slavery. We can go to slavery, because how many people actually is making it above the water comfortably?
Yeah, hardly anybody. Everybody's trying to stay afloat.
If you really was, would there be a need to fight for minimum wage of $15?
Well, we know what's going to happen if minimum wage becomes $15.
I'm not for sure.
It's a $3 on the dollar alone. It's at least a 3% in 3% what's it called, inflation.
Yeah.
Every year.
Right. So, well, I mean, just to keep up with inflation. But with that said, I mean, you know, I'm all about free markets and competition. So I'm not necessarily sure there should be a set minimum wage, because if you let everything go by the way it goes, like if you're not paying enough, nobody's gonna come work for you.
True.
If minimum wage gets up
to have a standard, because some people will come, but some people they're gonna hire. They're gonna do what they're gonna be doing. What they doing. That's what I'm telling y'all.
Bring it in illegal immigrants to work for
do what?
Low wage jobs. But listen, this is America.
To slave. That's what they
work for the low. It's not slavery no more. Slave. You gotta pay them now. Even though you're paying them 50 cents a week.
That's slave wages. According to the 13th Amendment, they're slave wages. Just because people in prison work for 84 cents a day. That's slave wages.
Yeah. Right.
And according to Larry Johnson, he wrote a book by Larry Johnson, basketball player. He didn't write the book, but he came up with the term, and it was a book wrote about it. I don't know if you ever read it, but it's called $40 million slaves.
$40 million slaves.
$40 million slaves.
That's about the prison industrial.
It's about different situations of people with money still. Just because you got money don't mean necessarily that you ain't a slave. Like you.
Well, everybody. That's why. But we all slaves. Whenever we think about the material things that we buy,
slaves to that dollar.
Look, I'm gonna tell you like this, and this is nothing against it because I like nice stuff too. I be seeing people stuff, and I'm like, I want one of those. You know what I'm saying? Just you see a nice car with some rims on it, you like, oh my God, look at that. I ain't trying to look too hard, you know, but people nowadays, now that we buy all these material values and we call it hood rich, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when we hood rich, we got shackles on still. So we slaves, we still got shackles on, but they gold shackles though. You know what I'm saying? Sure. My shackles, I'm a slave, but my shackles are gold and shiny. And yours is rusty.
They said $40 million.
So my shackles are better than yours.
Shut up and dribble.
Yeah. But Drew Brees can do whatever he wants to do, right?
$40 million.
Drew Brees is entitled to his opinion. That's what Laura Ingraham said. She said he's entitled to his opinion, but LeBron got to shut up and dribble.
So what I'm saying to y'all is the same thing that we face and they put on us to take over our stuff. Same thing y'all facing. Voter fraud. Anything they can do to not get your vote. Gentrification is a prime example of industry versus farming. Gentrification. We coming in, taking your stuff. What's it called? Eminent domain. You see what they did in Seattle? They put that thing out, said, yeah, we finna sell. If you don't do nothing with got these properties, you ain't put nothing with them. We gonna put them on the market for corporations. It's gonna come through and do something with it. So we're gonna come through your communities and take your stuff. You're dealing with voters fraud. You got a president in office that didn't win the popular vote, but won the election. Just like we had a president win the election, he wasn't on the ballot of 10 of our states. So y'all really complaining about us, our main thing as having slaves and building our economy off slaves, but in the reality is, y'all, they doing to what they did to us, they doing to y'all, and you're not paying attention to it. Voter fraud, taking your land, eminent domain. If you own something, you're not doing nothing with it, or gentrification, putting you out in the neighborhood. Let a corporation like all the projects they had in Chicago and St. Louis that they tore them down, and let a corporation come through and rebuild them up. They getting you up out of there. You implement an innate system. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna take this vaccine, or you ain't gonna go to school. Only thing it is they bring it in. If you don't want the job, the illegals is coming in to get the job for slave wages. Or if you paying any kind of money, or you work for any kind of job, you gonna do what they say, or you gonna get fired. And if you can't afford to get fired, you just gonna do what they say, because there's a lot of people right now that at jobs that they don't want, they got to do what they say just because they got to pay the bills, and they're not able to go out there and really make something happen on their own. So with that being said, y'all hate me, the Confederacy, for what I stood for in slavery, but you should be understanding what we was trying to do outside of the slavery, as in building our own and coming to our own instead of letting them come in and we
So we should have. So we should have been worried about. So we should have been worried about the way that.
Go ahead,
that was just disrespectful.
Man,
hey, can y'all see me?
No,
can y'all see me on here?
No, you didn't.
I can't see you.
Boo,
I
can
can't
you see me?
I can't see you. I can hear you. Though.
I don't know why it's doing that.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know why it's doing
that.
Maybe I gotta press something.
Yeah, see where it says Cam?
Yeah,
that's what I had to do.
Yeah,
should I exit out and come back in?
Yeah, you might have to.
Should I try to exit out and come back in? All right,
yeah.
I'm gonna try.
But yeah, man, no, you didn't. Just try to drive that point in. Talk about we should be appreciative of what y'all was trying to do. No, we shouldn't. No, we should. We should be appreciative of fucking getting tortured and thrown to scraps. We should be appreciative of being kidnapped basically from our homeland and brought over here with the premise of
I'm not saying y'all should be appreciative of that. I'm saying y'all should be appreciative and take a note of what we was standing up against, as far as voter fraud, as far as coming in trying to take our land, as far as the schemes of trying to go out and
trying to take your land. Right?
Yeah, we was the
everything
below
y'all
the line was ours. Everything below the Mason-Dixon line.
Even though they made the Native Americans march all the way across the country with just a blanket on their back so y'all could have land, so y'all could have y'all King Cotton, right? Even though they gave the Indians smallpox blankets and infected them with diseases and everything to kill their whole society.
What did you all say earlier? All fair in love and war.
Here we go. Touche.
Oh, they called it. And then
well played, sir.
It's crazy. The Louisiana Purchase. You think they just think everybody knows Mexico extended all the way up from Texas all the way up to what? From Texas all the way up to how far?
New Mexico, Arizona, Utah.
Even Georgia. They said they got some Mayan. They found some Mayan pyramids type stuff in the woods in Georgia. They said the Georgia clay is what they use to produce the Mayan blue.
So it's crazy to think that your people, you know what I'm saying, you come and say our land. And it's crazy to think about that, because a lot of people think man, enable for us to be effective and actually acknowledge that, we come into a terms where, just like when was it Gil Scott-Heron that said the revolution won't be televised. Well, that saying comes from the revolution won't be televised because we gonna be the revolution. You ain't gonna see no TV because you gonna be out there too, standing up for what's right, doing what you got to do to further the movement when it comes to African Americans having the same rights as other people. And so now, what I was really wanting to talk to you about and see what y'all thought about. What do you think about? Because there is some form of divide with Hispanics and African Americans. I don't know what it is. We should understand each other more than anybody. But I feel like sometimes, and it's not all Hispanics or a Latino community, but some I feel like don't like Black people. You know what I mean? I just feel like they don't.
That comes from
colonialism.
Yeah, that comes from how we paint the pictures of different castes. So we decide who's on the bottom, and so basically we got y'all into it with each other, saying that one of y'all gonna have to take the bottom. Now, one of y'all gonna fight out who's gonna be bottom, who's gonna be next to the bottom.
And it goes by a spectrum of the amount of melanin you got in your skin. Usually, if you're on the far shade of the melanin scale, then you usually up considering a higher class on the world view of things.
And so we got the Mexicans looking at y'all like y'all lazy because they getting all the work.
And we allowing it though,
the labor.
But we allowing it because if we run in the community and if we make up the whole demographic of a certain area in the city and we allow people to come in there and make money, buying businesses, because people will go in on a bottle, but don't nobody want to go in on the business. You know what I mean?
That goes back to,
like you said, people go in on the bottle, but don't go in on the business.
That's what goes back to the information and knowledge. And that's one of the reasons why us because y'all thinking of the Confederacy as just what happened in the Civil War. And the reality is, as long as the Constitution exists, the Confederacy will always be an American institution, mind state. And you all is worried about going in on the bottle instead of putting money in that same amount of money you spend a week on liquor and drugs and partying and clothes, and putting it in and investing in land, or investing in a building, or investing in real estate, you know, and stuff like that. And you call up, we own the corporations that push out the rappers that make y'all glorify this. Mm-hmm. So we really 5 steps ahead.
Well, black people make slavery look like a cool thing sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it looks cool.
How?
It looks, because it's something that looks fun.
Transform somebody, boy.
No, look, but I'm just saying, as far as our mindset, it looks fun to just use all your money and say it's all good, I got you. Spending all your money, having no financial discipline. Sometimes is a way that black people use to escape the harsh realities of where they live, whatever the form of demographic where they live in the neighborhood. Just buying a bottle, maybe getting high, whatever, is a way to cope. It's a coping mechanism with the stuff you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It's not to say that if you didn't have the same advantages, because if you look at even right now in the inner city, in Kansas City, even where I'm at, a large portion of the city on the inner city, they don't have no accreditation. They getting ran by the state. Their school system is doing whatever the state says because they don't have any structure. They don't have any funding. The government, Governor Parsons just cut $179 million off the whole state. And nobody blinked an eye because we so worried. We're so distracted. We're so emotional that we don't focus. We have a problem focusing.
This is what y'all wanted when y'all wanted to integrate with us.
I wasn't around, so I can't speak for everybody when it comes to that. But I will say, separate but equal probably would have worked if it was really set up to be separate but equal. It wasn't never.
What would the NCAA look like separate but equal? What would NFL look like separate but equal? What would football? Anything?
You still have Negro leagues and.
Okay, why do you think that Lincoln Hubbard High School? Why do you think all the black people, when probably our parents was in 5th, 6th grade, started going over to high school?
That's because the tornado came through and tore it down.
That was a bad.
But still,
I just learned something.
No, but still, though. I mean, but the question is this though, outside of it all, what was it that they like? What was it that why we really wanted to go there? Because we had our own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look at all these like Tulsa, Black Wall Street in Tulsa. The one place in Philly, like all these ones that got burned down, these strong black wealthy communities that was burned down.
Look out, Russell Westbrook's breaking that.
We ain't even got to go that far. Think about the north side of Sedalia in the 60s and the 70s. Even in the 80s growing up, they had grocery store, barber shops, all this different stuff. And then look at it now. Look at the north side now. Everything where there was something ain't nothing.
Ain't nothing here no more.
And it's looking gentrified.
Yeah. It's looking gentrifiable right now. And in the process of being gentrified.
They coming in, they buying.
Because they done put the thing already out in the meeting. They said, you got this land, you ain't doing nothing with it, don't worry about it. We're going to go and sell it to these corporations. And they're going to come through and do something with them. As long as they got a building plan, they can buy it and get it.
Just like you said, if the city or the state, just like you said with the eminent domain, if they got a use for it, then you're gonna have to come up off of it. Now they're gonna compensate you, but you're gonna have to go on now.
They might.
They got to.
No, the ones right now, the ones today, they not talking about compensating.
Not compensating nothing.
You're not doing nothing with that property.
They snatching your shit.
Snatching it from you. And we're gonna sell it to a corporation. I've seen the list of corporations from New Jersey, Florida, Connecticut. They come through and they're gonna build, you know, and that's what us Confederates we went through, you know. At the end of the day, as the representative of the Confederacy, I pulled up to this meeting in the General Lee.
Oh yeah, at the Dukes of Hazzard.
To tell you, to explain to you what we doing. Man, not have been morally right as far as slaves and everything else. But the fact that we was trying to protect our economic system was bringing us in billions of dollars. The fact that we wanted to come into our own because we was facing voter fraud. We was facing eminent domain.
Yeah.
We was facing a lot of games that was going on. And we wanted to pull. We was facing losing our rights and we wanted to pull out. Got to be careful and learn from what we went through. Forget about the slavery stuff. Pay attention to the other stuff we went through. Yeah, we was wrong. Morally wrong with slavery. We were not a law, but we was wrong.
Right.
You know, but why not build an empire? If you can build an empire and don't have to pay nobody, would you do it?
Yeah, I can see that.
Some people sitting around right now collecting big unemployment check, ain't put a lick of work in, getting paid.
Big dollars. Big dollars.
See what I'm saying? Right. So before you go and triple our mentality, think about the mentality of yours today. Right now.
Hey,
just because it's law doesn't make it right. Yeah, we was
law. That's true. Just because law don't make it right.
Yeah, we was morally wrong. But if you really want to address the issues of tearing down our history, you got to remember we got one thing that's always going to remind us and y'all of our history and our power. And that's the fundamental law of what we call the United States of America, and it's called the Constitution. So when you ever think that you got any power, I want you to go to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, and look at it. Tell you are 3/5 of the human. Then I want you to go to Article 13. I want you to go to Amendment 13, where it says slavery, and then I want you to think about all your brothers and your cousins and family members that's locked up or being locked up or even caught a crime, and look at where it says except duly convicted of a crime. They don't say except duly convicted of a crime and went to prison. It said except duly convicted of a crime, meaning that anytime we really want to get nasty, anybody that's ever been convicted of a crime is subject to go to slave wages. Don't say go to prison. It says duly convicted of a crime. Then I want you to go to the 14th Amendment, where you are implemented as an artificial person, not a citizen, but an artificial person. You're not granted rights. You're granted privileges and immunity. You don't have inalienable rights. You don't have rights that cannot be transferred or taken away.
Right.
You
and
are
civil
a
rights
14 person. You are an artificial person, and you got privileges and immunity. Not like liberty and the pursuit of happiness, but life, liberty, and property is what your privilege and immunity stand for. So before you get to thinking about y'all did something with us, you're not going to do nothing until you start making a move towards that Constitution. Until then, that's going to be the fundamental law of the United States of America. And if you want to be American citizen, not American citizen, American artificial person, naturalized person.
A naturalized person?
Yeah, if you want to be that, then that. If not, I suggest you figure out what your nationality is and try to build you a nation, or y'all put somebody to the forefront, not a Democrat, not a Republican, and y'all put somebody else, an independent, to the forefront of the movement, put them in office, come with a 10-point program on 10 points from the Republican side of black people, 10 points from the Democratic side of black people, put it together where it supports the whole race as a whole, and then y'all put them in the forefront of an election and get them in there and get some more than just laws, get this Constitution ratified, changed. Until then, y'all want to be a victim of, you're going to be a 14th Amendment.
The same thing that's going on with the Constitution is the same thing that's happening with people that read the Bible. You read the Old Testament, it's a lot of crazy stuff in there. You like, how is that in there? What? They had slaves in the Bible too.
Yeah.
So you thinking like, what? How can I don't know if I can believe in this, man, because I see they talking about slaves and they talking about all this stuff. And then you go to the New Testament where it's like, well, now it's about forgiving and understanding. So that's where we at.
That's the pacifier. That's
that woo-wop. That's that flip.
That's that pacifier. They just that pacifier. We pacify y'all.
Yeah.
After the 14th Amendment, we gave y'all the right to vote. You know, y'all got right to bear arms, freedom. That's the pacifier. But
that stimulus. Everybody got stimulated.
We're gonna give y'all some more money. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't get stimulated, thank you.
And then when it's all said and done, it's going. That's just what it is. You know,
but it's crazy because we got to stop being so distracted. Now we can be appreciative and be like, okay, we can show some things as a form of economic advancement, but we also can't get distracted with, I mean, even over the form of like what's been going on, how impactful George Floyd was. There's a lot of people that are losing the concept of sight of what happened at that moment. Because that's been happening. Us as black people.
We built up a society where now it's attention span is no good after 8 seconds, and it's definitely ain't no good after a week. After a week,
if somebody comes out with a new CD,
after a week you be looking for the next.
Well, Jay-Z just dropped a new CD. We done forgot about George Floyd.
Yeah,
that fast because we listened to that new Jigga.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Or the new rap beef, or now we focusing on Will and Jada.
You know
what I'm saying?
All right.
So at the end of the day, the Confederacy has spoken.
Yeah, right. Hey, well, listen. The points you made were good. The only thing I had to stand on was the white supremacy aspect of the Confederacy. I will say I do agree with the industrialist versus the agriculture aspect of it, and trying to change their way of living. I can't agree with that. States' rights, I'm not going to agree with that because it was states' rights to own black people.
Right.
Economic
that's not all right.
You stay in the states' right to own the black people.
Say what?
You stay in the states, and they chose the slave state.
I didn't choose the state that I was
the last one to get rid of slaves.
Who? Missouri?
But that's why entrepreneurship is so important.
You ever looked at the Dred Scott case?
Yeah, Dred Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so important to be an entrepreneur.
They said white supremacy was the law.
I'm glad you said that, Tremaine, because at the end of the day, what your people don't fail to realize is this. The whole Civil War started off of a business thing. Business. Mm-hmm. Economics.
And slavery is big business.
Slavery was our huge business. King Cotton. You don't know what those of you who are listening, you don't know what King Cotton is, look it up. Better yet, we'll put a video inside of this group about King Cotton. King Cotton was our business. That was our business. A lot of y'all grew up on King Cotton bacon.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You grew up with King Cotton, but didn't even know what King Cotton was. That was our biggest money maker, but it was economic and business. Because at the end of the day, y'all thinking about a country when the United States Constitution is the bylaws for the United States Corporation. That's why businesses is winning with Donald Trump in office, because once you get out of and transform your straw person into an entity.
Are we talking about the Confederacy, or are you running the campaign ad for Donald Trump?
But basically, what we understand is that whenever the Constitution was created, and anybody listening to this, and we know this, everybody knows this, but it's just the thought of it. Thinking about when this Constitution was created, it wasn't created for people that look like me. And some of the same statutes and the same laws and everything that's in this Constitution, whenever they was created, they wasn't created. Whenever we celebrate the 4th of July,
I'm glad you know that. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. This Constitution
it wasn't made with us in mind.
It's Constitution. You're an artificial person. This Constitution was created for me, the people, white man, 21 years of age.
You go from a slave. You go from a slave. You go from a slave to an indentured servant. You go from an indentured servant to the help. You go from the help to someone who works for minimum wage. You go from minimum wage to somebody who works harder than everybody in the building, but has to, work twice as hard to get where you at, type of thing. So it's always some form of basically we're on the lower end of everything we do. Even if you do get a good job, then people say, well, you only got it. I mean, now that's the new thing, is the reverse of racism, where it's like, well, you only got it because you are black. And you thank God for affirmative action, because that's the only reason how a person that looks like you, that ain't as educated as me, got the job over me. It's because you're black, and they just needed to be, like you said, pacified.
Yeah. That's our biggest.
So let's hire.
That's our biggest.
Although we are a white supremacist organization, we got to hire a black person. And if you think about it, look at all the people that's supporting Donald Trump. You got those Hodge twins. I don't know if y'all know who they are. These two black twins.
I've seen a couple of their videos. Yeah.
What white supremacists love and nationalists love the most is looking for other black people that will validate.
They see the video, they're gonna come get me.
They're gonna come get you next. You gonna be validating for they motherfucking ass. You right on the payroll.
They gonna come get me. They gonna see one clip of this and say, "Oh, we like him." They don't understand. I'm just here playing the devil's advocate. They gonna see
Candace Owens is another one of them.
Yeah.
Another dude, Terrence Williams, is another one of them.
There's so many. At the end of the day, man, the whole Confederacy was out of line. I understand that tearing down the other statues, we tearing down that history because the history is the whole history behind it is just despicable. It's disgusting. Yep. But at the same time, us as a people need to understand that ain't where our history started.
It's not where
our history started for them. That ain't.
What's the first thing that you learned? What's the first thing that both of y'all learned about whenever you went to school? What's the first thing you learned about as a black man, a young black dude? And you learned, what's the first thing you learned? That you was a slave.
Y'all was brought over here in ships.
Yeah.
And then
no history before that.
No history before that. And then Abraham Lincoln came to be great savior. Then it was Martin Luther King. And then now
that is black history. That's black history.
That's black history.
Before they came over here, they wasn't calling each other black over there
history,
in the other country. They had nationalities. So the black history started right here. As far as America, they teach, that's all they know. They don't know nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Right. This is what they know. They don't know nothing else. That's what they.
So that's the excuse too.
You know,
they know now though, right?
Yeah, they gonna know.
They don't know.
So on state and federal mandated curriculum, kids that are in the 5th grade, are they learning about who black people were before they were slaves?
But you know why they're not learning
in
about
2020? I'm talking about in 2020. You know,
they're not. But you know, the reason why is that because we as a community are not taking control of our education system. Like, we elect the people that come up with the education policy. So if we want them to start teaching certain things in our school, we need to let them people know. And if they don't do that, we need to vote their ass up out of there.
Well, you know, the Secretary of Education
Tone said it, but he's right though. He says that we have rich history here too, though. We do. We have rich history. So the black history that they teach is really ain't the actual black history. And then we got to keep breaking the mindset that all the blacks came over here on the slave ships. We got to break that mindset.
Not all of them did. There was black people here before the slaves.
And then you got to remember that he said also that it's not in America. It wasn't in America's agenda to teach it. Why would they teach your greatness when they trying to
oppress you
and
marginalize you? And
yeah, why would they teach your greatness? You know, the podcast is supposed to be for about an hour 15. We had
man. We hit over 2, man. I told you.
But we had a good conversation, man. We appreciate everybody
coming
in. We're gonna do this every Sunday, different topics. We're gonna bring in different people in. So if you're on there and I see you got some good input, I'm gonna send you the link like I did Jermaine. We're gonna put you on for the heated.
I appreciate it, man. Shout out to y'all for real.
These are combos that need to be had. Where we can learn, we can disagree, we can agree to disagree, whatever, as long as we learning and give you something to go research, man. Appreciate everybody tapping in the heated convo conversation. It'll probably be uploaded on YouTube, you know, on probably Tuesday, probably Apple, stuff like that. I got to do some things. This is the first one. We just getting started, but I appreciate y'all brothers tuning in. And until next time, y'all going to respect the Confederacy.
Hey, fuck that. Hey, you take your Confederate ass back down to the south there, man.
Hey, Convo though, y'all, man. Shout out to you, man. Y'all brothers have a good one.
All right, you too, man.
All right.
All right.
Yep.